Hey guys, Jonathan here, and it's been a really busy November here at Mini Superheroes Today. Of course, got all kinds of LEGO stuff going on, planning new content, but in the meantime, over the last several weeks, I've actually found a crazy amount of vintage comic books, as you saw in the thumbnail, and in today's video, I actually wanted to show you some of the crazy books that I found, and of course, I found some extras that might not necessarily make it into this video, or maybe they will, who knows, but I'm really enjoying collecting comics, and some of them will end up in my Whatnot streams in the future. So if you haven't hung out over there, be sure to come see those sales and see what happens. But anyways, let's take a look at these classic comic books that I've found. All right, the very first one we're going to take a look at is from the way back year of 1966. That's right, this is Amazing Spider-Man number 39, a really early issue. This is actually where Steve Ditko left the Spider-Man comics, and John Romita Sr. jumped in and started doing the artwork. This one is significant, of course, because of that classic comic book cover that we see here, and it's the first time that we find out that the Green Goblin is indeed Norman Osborn. So this is a super rare comic from 1966. Crazy, crazy how old it is, and it's super cool to add to the collection. Now, I should throw out that I found these at an antique store here in Nashville, which is really cool. Like, you know, I'm always out hunting for Lego and toys and stuff, but you never expect to find stuff like this, including the first appearance of the Shocker in any Spider-Man comic book. This comes from 1967, and it's incredibly cool to have. I mean, Shocker's one of my favorite Spider-Man villains. My favorite is Mysterio. I'd love to have his first appearance comic book someday, but from 1967, here's the first time Shocker ever appeared in a Spider-Man comic. Okay, now this next lot is actually a twofer. This is Amazing Spider-Man number 121 and 122, which are basically a two-part story, if you will. We'll focus on this one first. This is the night Gwen Stacy died. As you can see on the cover, Spider-Man knows that somebody is going to be in danger that night, and of course, we know all these years later, because this comic came out in 1973, that Gwen Stacy would meet her end in this comic book, where Green Goblin basically kills her. Well, you guys know the story. Green Goblin doesn't kill her, but he creates the circumstance for her to be killed. I guess I won't spoil it if you don't know, but if you've seen Amazing Spider-Man 2, you basically know what happens. So that's the night Gwen Stacy dies, and then in the follow-up comic, we have Spider-Man holding her dead body, and of course this is also from 1973, but this is where the Green Goblin is actually killed by being impaled by his own glider. So a lot of iconic Spider-Man stories happen between these two issues, and this was really a big tonal shift for Spider-Man. From here on out, the stories do get a lot more serious. So it is pretty cool that it was a big maturing point for the stories and the character, and of course, it's really cool to have both comics here in person. Now, it's funny that we talk about Spider-Man maturing because every once in a while we'll come across a story that's still pretty zany. This one is from the next year in 1974, and this is where Doc Ock attempts to marry Aunt May. Yeah, that really does happen in the comics, and basically Aunt May was inheriting a nuclear power plant, and Doc Ock wanted all 6 of his hands all over that one, and of course Spider-Man has to swing in and save the day. It's an iconic story just because of how zany and goofy it is, and of course the cover is really cool too. One of my favorite comics that I found is the first appearance of Black Cat from 1979. This is issue 194, and of course this kind of tells Black Cat's origin story, and it's that classic comic book cover, the very first time the world ever saw Felicia Hardy, aka the Black Cat. Another one of my favorites. This one is absolutely crazy. This is 1984's Spider-Man. That is Amazing Spider-Man, number 252. Of course, this recreates Amazing Fantasy 15, which was the first appearance of Spider-Man, but this time he's in his black symbiote suit. Now, this isn't the debut of the symbiote suit. That, of course, was in Secret Wars number 8, but Spider-Man gets the symbiote suit there, and this is the first Amazing Spider-Man story where he has the suit because they've returned to Earth, and of course, he's got it on the cover here, making it very iconic and very, very collectible. I paid $50 for this one, which is a lot of money for one comic book, but way good value for how valuable and rare this comic book is. All right, jumping ahead a bit in issues, the next one I picked up is Amazing Spider-Man number 300. Not only does it have a very cool comic cover, but this is the first appearance of Venom. It's so cool. This is from 1988. So Spider-Man's been wearing the black suit now for about 4 years, but over those 4 years, he's actually become detached from the symbiote, but he made a cloth replica of the suit that he's swinging around the city in just because he liked how sleek it was and stealthy and all of that. But of course, in this comic, we find out that the Venom symbiote, or the symbiote that was attached to Spider-Man, has now attached himself to Eddie Brock, and they have to go into a battle. And I don't want to spoil it, but I did read the comic before making this video, and man, oh man, it is super, super cool. So this is the very first appearance of Venom. Alright, up next, we've got this classic cover, of course the artwork being from the legendary Todd McFarlane, and this is issue number 311 from 1988 as well. Now, it's not a particularly iconic story or anything, but the cover is iconic, and I remember seeing this as a kid and just thinking it's so cool with Spider-Man in Mysterio's dome, and of course now, I'm not exactly a kid, although my profession might make you think I am. But it's really cool to add to the collection all these years later. And finally, this is the last big comic book I added. This is Amazing Spider-Man number 316 from 1989, and this is Venom is Back, which of course is the first time that Venom ever appears on the cover of a comic book, because Spider-Man does defeat him in issue 300, but now he's back with a vengeance, and of course he's on the cover of a comic book for the very, very first time. So that is really incredibly cool, and of course more awesome Todd McFarlane art. Now I do have some more comic books here. This is one that's been in my collection for quite some time. This is Marvel Premiere Ant-Man. This is issue number 48. And number 47, which you've seen highlighted on the channel before, is the first time that Scott Lang appears in the Ant-Man suit. It's actually the issue where he steals the Ant-Man suit, and this is actually him fighting Darren Cross. So this comic book actually kind of inspired, very loosely, the plot for the very first Ant-Man movie in 2015. Speaking of Ant-Man, I've got Tales to Astonish here, which is Spider-Man versus Giant Man, and as you can see, Spider-Man is webbing up Giant Man, so this comic here actually served as the inspiration for Civil War, that scene where Spider-Man ties him up. Now, that comic and this comic are ones that I've had in my collection for quite some time, but now that I've been finding these at antique stores, I kind of want to hunt out more comic books. These ones here are the ones that I think are going to appear in some Whatnot streams, just so I could help you guys get some cool comics. From the year 1978, this is a cover that has Big Wheel on the front. We all know Sony is eventually going to make a Big Wheel movie. Probably. From 1976. This is a cool comic book that has the Spider Dune Buggy, Spider-Mobile on the front. I really, really dig that. And of course, that's super cool for the historic element of that. Got a classic Doc Ock cover here from 1976. Really cool with Doc Ock fighting Spider-Man coming out of a helicopter. Got another classic one here from 1985 with Spider-Man hanging upside down. Web of Spider-Man. Very cool. Here we've got another classic cover from 1975 with Mysterio lifting the dome off of his head. Ah, that's so cool. All right, here we've got Spider-Man battling Shocker again in 1976. Really cool classic cover. Then this one is cool. I Am Spider-Man No More from 1994. Amazing Spider-Man number 392 with yet again another classic comic book cover. Here we've got one from 1985, another classic cover here with the Beyonder battling Mephisto. Ooh, maybe setting up for Secret Wars in the MCU. Who knows? But here we've got a little Captain America Civil War homage with Spider-Man fighting Captain America here. And, of course, we've got Electro in the background there, so lots of cool characters here. And we've got the Sinister Five, a.k.a. Sony's all-star roster. Not really, but you've got Spider-Man fighting Doc Ock, Mysterio, Vulture, Morbius, and Jackal. So super, super cool comic books. Definitely cool to add all of these, well, most of them to my collection, and I'd love to hear which of these you guys dug the most. It was really cool to find these and add them to the collection. I did spend an insane amount of money on these. I think over like $700 when it's all said and done, but it's all worth it to have these classic comic book covers in the collection now. So let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you want to see more comic content here on the channel. As I collect them, I might as well make videos and show you guys because I love talking about them. So let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you guys on the next video.